about whether I'm noticing what's going on for me right here, right now, or I'm in my mind and I'm kind of typically time traveling into the past or time traveling into the future. You know, I'm engaged with stuff that's already happened, or I'm engaged with things how I think they're going to happen. So I'm in my head and I'm not actually embodied, I'm not in the present moment. So this was my starting point. So this is what I'm practicing. I'm always practicing one or the other. So then I guess I don't need to put much effort into the sort of like being in my head and time traveling. Yeah, I've been doing that for most of my life, for decades, before I discovered this approach. So the real thing I'm practicing is learning to be more and more present. And with the formal practice, I tend to drop into that present moment experience a little deeper. You know, this is just generally speaking. And with the informal practice, it's, you know, I'm still becoming present through a sensory experience. And it's perhaps not as deep because I don't stay with things as long. So these are the differences for me. And, you know, I was preparing for this. I decided to go for a walk in the forest. So I'm out in the New Forest in these beautiful surroundings. And after about 20 minutes, half an hour, I realised I haven't taken any notice of any of it because I've just been thinking, you know, what am I going to say on Wednesday night? Oh, I need to talk about this, and I need to make this point, and I want to make that point. So we must make sure I remember those. And I thought, right, so this is an example of me being in my head and not paying any attention to my surroundings. So then I stopped and I started to notice where I was, and I started to notice the leaves, the changing colours, the kind of the air temperature, the sounds of the birds, the sounds of the running water, and start to engage with my sensory experience. Now, to me, that's practice. That's me practicing the skill of being present to what was actually happening and noticing how that made me feel. And, you know, and even sort of like going more inward and noticing the embodied sensations of those kind of feelings. So this is what I mean by informal practice, and this happens all the time. You know, I can be cooking, and you know, I'm just thinking about what's coming next. I'm thinking about something that happened earlier on that day. I'm thinking about a piece of work I've got to do the following week, and I'm not really paying any attention to the process of cooking. But then I can slow down and sort of like really start to become aware of the smells and what things look like, and the textures. If I'm making crumble or something, you know, the feeling of flour mixing with butter on my fingertips. And again, this is practice. So establishing that side of practice for me is just a case of remembering. It's just every now and again, just taking my attention to, you know, what's actually happening right now. I mean, all of you guys are hopefully paying attention to me while I'm speaking. If you take your attention to the points of contact between you and wherever you're sitting or lying, then you're kind of, you're that engagement with a sensory experience, that brings you into the here and now. So that's kind of practicing being present. And all of the, you know, when I was out in the forest, I realized that, well, I'm sort of engaging with all of the kind of habit releases, the kind of the mindfulness in action, and the, you know, the sort of like watching the sky, the spending some time in nature, the stopping, the looking and the listening, and all of those little kind of instructions that you get on the structured 8-week courses, the Mindfulness for Health and the Mindfulness for Stress course. You know, we can just incorporate those into ordinary everyday life. And this is practice, you know. So establishing that is just as straightforward as remembering, I think. I mean, I know some people will sort of like just have little post-its on the fridge and sort of like, you know, just slow down today, or maybe just put a little note on the phone, or set an alarm somewhere. You know, I've heard of people, you know, every time your text alert goes on your phone, just stop and notice where, you know, what your feet feel like before you actually respond to the text, or something like that. These are ways we can just sort of like give ourselves a little kind of signal, if you like, to just sort of like, where am I? What's going on? But this, you know, practice can be anywhere, all the time. Just walking from one part of your home to another part of your home is an opportunity to notice what it feels like to put one foot in front of the other. So it's kind of like I'm kind of like, what am I trying to say here? It's available to us at any point. And it's just all about remembering to just, where am I now? What's happening now? What does this feel like? What does this look like? What does this smell like? Rather than being in our heads. So that's the informal practice. Then you've got the formal practice, which I think the one supports the other. Now, obviously, there's the things that help with this are just practical things. If you've got a time of day that you get into a routine, that can be really helpful. Yeah, maybe a length of time can be helpful. If you sort of like set yourself an intention to sit for too long, it's kind of off-putting to even begin. Whereas if you just set yourself a period of time to practice that's shorter, then perhaps you can go a little longer than you'd intended to. So being somewhere peaceful where you're not going to be disturbed, these are all considerations. Being warm enough, having your favorite cushion on, your favorite blanket, even having your own bell. Bells are really good. They kind of, I hear a bell and immediately lets me drop down into a different kind of experience. Some kind of ritual, anything that kind of supports you in that period of time where you have this intention to formally practice. I think that, just putting a bit of thought to that. In a kind of compassionate way, make it as pleasant and as enjoyable as you possibly can. At the moment, I'm fortunate enough to not be able to get up to go to a place of work every day. So it's the first thing I do when I wake up. And it's also something, I, like a lot of people I've spoken to at the moment, aren't sleeping as soundly as I was before all of the pandemic. So I'm tending to do formal practice when I can't sleep because it's restful and it's nourishing and it's restorative and so on. And it's better than just being awake and wondering why it is I can't sleep. So that's working for me at the moment. What else can I say about formal practice? I think the thing that really helps to support me, and this is something I'm going to invite us all to explore in a few moments, is the self-inquiry as to why practice. Why bother? Yeah, why would I do this? What's the point? What's the benefit? And then that leads to some kind of motivation. Yeah. And giving myself a choice. I mean, I don't have to do this. I don't have to meditate tomorrow morning. I don't have to meditate. I don't have to, when I go out into the forest, I don't have to pay attention to what's going on there. It's something I choose to do. And I choose to do it because there is a benefit. And becoming aware and reminding myself of what that benefit is, that really supports me. That sort of encourages me and motivates me to do it. So what I was going to do, I'm just going to switch to the other screen so I'm not paying attention to one group of people. What I was going to invite us to do was to sort of like just all of us sort of drop into a reflective practice for a few moments, which I'll lead, which will be about sort of like asking ourselves, why do I practice? What are the benefits for me? And then if we break out into smaller groups, there's going to be groups of 3, and just have a chat to each other. We're going to sort of break out into groups of 3 for 10 minutes. So you'll all have about 3 minutes each. You just listen to the other person and talk about, what comes out of this reflective practice. Why do I practice? And perhaps even what supports me. But what's my motivation? What are the benefits? So I'm going to invite you all to get comfortable now. So it won't be for too long, only for a few minutes. We're just going into whatever posture is going to work for you. And again, I think this is something that supports us, whether it's a reflective practice or one of the structured practices, adopting some kind of posture that signifies, that's what I was doing, now I'm going to be doing this. Yeah, and if it's an upright posture, there's some kind of dignity, some kind of purpose to it. It shifts the kind of energy. And even lying down, you know, if you lie down in a particular way, make sure, be attentive to your body being in alignment, you know, not sort of like one leg folded over the other kind of thing. And then that shifts things. So I'm just going to sound the bell. So if you're happy to, closing your eyes, if not, just lowering your gaze, perhaps. And taking a few moments to kind of drop out of your head and become more embodied. Notice the points of contact between you, where you're sitting, where you're lying. Becoming aware of the sensations in your body. Feeling the weight of your body. Noticing the sensations of breathing. Feeling that gentle expansion of the torso on the in-breath and the release on the out-breath. Right now, nothing to do but sitting while lying here, noticing how that feels and noticing what it's like to be breathing in and breathing in. And then just in your own mind, asking yourself the question, why do I practice? Why meditate? Why be mindful? What are the benefits? And being open and receptive to whatever response you get from that question. Being sensitive to not the louder answers, or not just the louder answers, but maybe the more subtle ones, the quieter answers to that question. Just noticing the answers that come back, there aren't even words. Why practice? What are the benefits? Perhaps you're hearing the answer that you didn't expect. Perhaps reflecting on what supports you in this practice as well. What's helpful? How can you support yourself? Again, being sensitive and receptive to the answers, to the responses from your system that perhaps aren't even words. And just listening to the answers to why would you practice? What are the benefits and what supports you in that endeavour? So in a moment you hear the bell, and shortly after that, Karen's going to allocate people into breakout rooms, and you'll have 10 minutes to sort of spend just talking and listening to each other. So each take a turn, and you go into the breakout room. welcome back. I'm assuming everybody found themselves in a room and had opportunity to speak. I'm having a bit of faith there. Give me some thumbs up, a few people, if that worked. Yeah, brilliant. Okay. So what I was going to do just for a few minutes before we finish off by actually doing some practice together was just to, if you can use the chat function at the bottom center of your screen, if you're on a laptop or some kind of computer, I'm not sure how you do it on a phone, just, you know, a kind of sentence or a word, you know, what supports your practice and what are the benefits of practicing? What came out of those groups? Anybody? And I'll read them out. One new message here. Yeah, so from Katie, it's kindness to self. Now there's some motivation, perhaps something that might sort of support your practice. From Hilly, we've got discovery. So yeah, it's can be quite interesting. Routine, that helps. God, it's going fast and I can read it. Self-compassion. Not being busy, so I'm imagining that's kind of, so we're scrolling back. Oh, there is, brilliant. Bringing peaceful quality to one's day. That's a good sense of control and calmness. That came out of the group I was in as well, and reassurance. So these are all of the kind of like the benefits from practice that hopefully supports us to actually want to do more and develop this personal practice. Online meetings. Yeah, no, that's from Caroline. Now, I'm not sure how to interpret that. You can unmute yourself and tell us if you want. No, okay. Checking in regularly.
Sorry, couldn't find them at mute. Well, I mean, online meetings support my practice.
Right. So
because there's specific times, you know, when I can log in and practice with other people.
Yes. Yeah, I think being part of a group, that can really be supportive, whether it's this community of practice through Breathworks or other online groups.
Well, yes, I did mean this community, and we do have one once a month in Birmingham as well.
Yeah.
Most of them are here. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I think definitely practicing with other people.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Not any old online.
I guess in Donna Marie put checking in regularly. That's supportive as well. I think if you are part of a group, that can be really useful. Being curious. It supports the Spina saying it supports growth. I kind of echo that. A little and often, yeah, this is good. Often we put, you know, great expectations upon ourselves. You know, I must sit on my cushion with my eyes closed for 40 minutes at a time, every day, twice a day. It's not going to happen. Not in my world, anyway. You know, but just if I can't practice, if I haven't got any time to do any, or I really don't feel like it, well, let's just do 1 minute. And then if that's gone well, okay, well, I'll do another minute. And then before you know it, I may have been there for like 40 minutes. So a little and often, I definitely echo that as well. Learning to let go of tension and thinking and holding in awareness. What can't we let go? Yeah, so practicing the kind of, when we practice, we develop these skills like acceptance and sort of like doing something about the things we can't do something about and accepting the things we can't, as the poem goes, something like that. So the practice is supported by seeing the results, so realizing the benefits. So initially it was trust, and now it's witnessing what the changes are. I think this is really useful. Yeah, sort of noticing what changes take place, how we grow, how we develop as people through developing this thing that we call practice. Balance, kindness, curiosity, benefit from a greater awareness of myself. And the more I practice, the more my instinct grows, saving me thinking time. I like, yeah. I find practice expands my time rather than shrinking it. That's really interesting from Francesca. Yeah. Becoming aware of how I am physically and emotionally. It's grounding and calming. Making time. Groups like this work. It is this community of practice can be very supportive. You know, just it feels supportive, but it does support that development of practice as well, being able to speak to others about how it's going. Teaching my groups, I find, yeah, if I wasn't a teacher, I wonder how much of this I'd actually get around to doing. Teaching definitely supports my own personal practice. It's kind of revisiting the concepts all the time. Benefit being my best self. Yeah. Helps to be in the right environment. Definitely. Yeah. I was saying to Karen before we started this, I used to live by a busy road. It's almost impossible to develop a daily practice with lorries rumbling by in the morning and things. So yeah, the kind of practicalities can support us as well. Well, that's really interesting, guys. Thank you for that. I'm just going to check my time. So hopefully this is helpful. Starting to sort of just that self-inquiry. You know, obviously, if we're going to continue with this kind of approach, we're going to be developing this personal practice, and we all know it. You know, it's a bumpy road sometimes. You know, there's times when we just don't want to do it. Perhaps even times when it's not the right thing to be doing from a self-care and what do I need perspective. You know, so bearing that in mind, that it's going to be an up and down kind of thing. At the moment, I'm just loving it. I can't get enough. I wish I could go on a retreat, a proper one, away from everybody and everything. You know, but then a few weeks ago, I'm like, do you know what? This isn't working for me like it usually does. You know, Netflix and a small glass of whiskey might work better. It's being realistic and being kind to ourselves. That supports it. You know, the having to, the sort of cracking the whip, I find doesn't work. I appreciate what Kabat-Zinn means when he says that you haven't got to like it, you just got to do it. But that kind of approach doesn't work for me. Giving myself the choice and reminding myself of why I do this and what the benefits are, and that I don't have to. Is it right for me now? What practice would be right for me now? Sitting on the cushion with my eyes closed or going for a walk in the forest? You know, they're of equal value. So hopefully this is all helpful. And how I'd like to finish off this session then is for us to actually do some practice now. So what I'm going to offer you is I'll sound the bell and I'll give some instruction, but I'm going to encourage you to sort of like do a bit of kind of self-inquiry. Like, what do you need right now? What would be good for you to practice? And go with that. So be open and receptive to meeting your own needs and being, you know, your own self-care, your own self-compassion and self-kindness. We've got a big mug of hot chocolate from Anna. That would be, but you've put that idea in my head now. I might have to go for that after we finish. So if you want to get yourselves comfortable again, either sitting or lying, and just listening to the sound of the bell. Perhaps just reminding ourselves to begin with of a few kind of key attitudes that might help and support us over the next few minutes. If you want to, you can choose not to judge yourself. You can choose not to be striving for any particular experience. Perhaps it would be a kindness to self, and it would be an easier path to take to be interested and curious and accepting of whatever shows up over the next few minutes. Just being with whatever is. Being patient. We're all of us at the moment, we're kind of dropping out of our heads and becoming more embodied. Allowing that some time. Gradually becoming more aware of what this body feels like. What the weight of this body feels like. If you're sitting, allowing that weight to drop down and noticing that experience of gravity, perhaps extending up slightly at the same time, using those two opposing kind of directions to create some space in the body. If you're lying, just allowing the weight to spread out as you breathe out. Allowing your body to soften. Patiently and gradually, starting to become aware of your breathing. What does it feel like to be breathing in and breathing out? Where do you feel the breath? And if there's anything at all pleasant about interrupting your day and giving yourself this time to just sit or lie and notice your body, how it feels, notice what it feels like to be breathing in and breathing out. Just be with that pleasant experience. Perhaps there's some aches or some pains, some discomfort. Maybe just noticing that they're there, not to battle with them. Just being open and receptive to what they're like. Maybe that's easier. Asking yourself, what do you need to practice right now? Is it to soften into whatever discomfort or pain or unpleasant experience that might be with you right now? Is it to pay attention to something that's showing up that's kind of easy, pleasant, something you'd welcome, giving that more space and room to perhaps increase? Is it to just sit and lie and just notice this in-breath, this out-breath, this in-breath, this out-breath? Just be with that. Perhaps holding others in your mind's eye and wishing them well. Just giving yourself the choice to practice what you would like to, what would benefit you. With your kindness to yourself. And if you find your mind wandering, then come back to being present to either the felt sensations in your body, sensations of breathing, perhaps sensations of discomfort, or sensations of pleasure. Perhaps feeling the benefit from practicing. Noticing what that is, how it feels and where you feel it. Perhaps the simplicity of sitting, lying here, noticing one breath at a time. Always we hope someone else has the answer. Some other place will be better. Some other time it will turn out. This is it. No one else has the answer. No other place will be better. And it's already turned out. At the center of your being, you have the answer. You know who you are. You know what you want. There's no need to run outside for better seeing, nor to peer from a window. Rather abide at the center of your being. But the more you leave it, the less you learn. Search your heart and see. The way to do is to be. Okay. Now, as much as I would dearly love to carry on and hear from everybody, we've actually come up to the end of the time. So we're going to have to bring this this community of practice session to a close now. I hope that was useful. I hope it's given you all some insight and some motivation and some kind of something that's going to support you in developing your own practice and motivate you. And good luck with it. And I wish you all well. It's lovely to see everybody. So I don't think Karen's going to switch us off immediately. So if you want to send messages to each other or unmute yourselves and say goodbye, that's fine.
Kindness to all.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Karen. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Steve. Bye, everyone.
See you guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, Martin. Bye, Martin.
Thanks very much.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Very useful. Thank you.
Me too.
Pleasure.